running days, or why I initially started running.
Yeah, yeah. Whatever you feel is important. If you feel that your pre-running days
All
are
right, so
important to the
just come out
story, then
again.
yeah, by all
I
means.
just go this again. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
you could just like hook it onto the
Yeah,
front of
yeah,
the shirt.
it came a loose again, but I
Um,
just got this hook. Oh, wait a minute. There we go.
yeah,
Yeah, let's see. Okay.
that's good.
Okay, now it's up.
Okay,
Um,
perfect, perfect. All right. So, yeah, wherever you want to start.
well, actually, as far as me deciding to run a marathon, I used I'm a retired county security officer, and at the time in '81, I was working at the Justice Center downtown. It has where you had the courts towers, the police department, the sheriff's department. Well, including the parking level, there was about like 25 flights of stairs. Well, I've always, when I grew up, we didn't have a family didn't have a car, and so I was usually walking to where I wanted to go because I didn't have the patience waiting on the bus. So before I started running, basically I was just walking or running just to get from one destination to the other.
Yeah.
Okay, now, okay, so when I was at the Justice Center, I used to walk the courts towers, at least a couple of times a week, while all the other security guards would take the elevator up and walk down. I would walk up the steps for exercise. November of '81, I got transferred to the old Board of Elections. I went from a first shift job to a 3 to 11 shift, and mostly a sit down job.
And you were about 40 then?
I was, let's see, 82, I was 34.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. April of '82, I had walked up to the fourth floor. It was on a weekend, I remember. I had walked up to the fourth floor, came and sat back down, and I was just panting. And I said, I used to do 20, I was thinking, I used to do 25 flights of stairs. I got to do something. I'm sitting there reading the paper, and they was advertising the Cleveland Refco Marathon and 10K. I looked at the 10K place. I looked at the marathon pace. And I said, oh, them running much slower at the long one. I'm going to do that next year. and that's how I decided to run a marathon, just because they were running slower.
Yeah.
And that's also the reason why every time I moved up in distance, I never had a problem, because I was always looking at the pace, not the distance.
Right.
Well, anyway, I got I got the little books. Looked through the race schedule at the time. The name of the books. Oh, there was some magazine. I can't think of it right now, but national. One of the ones I was looking at was National Masters News that used to come out, and the proponents, they were doing anywhere from 40 to over 100 miles in between. Well, I have ankylosing spondylitis, which is the arthritis where you have an extra bony deposits on the bones, kind of like fuse it together. And so I was already hurt now and then from that. So when I started looking at the schedule, I went straight to the master schedule, which was 40 and over, and the master schedule with the people who were doing the shortest mileage, which was about 40 miles or so, and that's why I went with the low mileage, because I mostly was in my hip area. I would be in pain a lot of time. Okay, so I did that. I got these different little books. It was some scientific magazine. Well, basically, I was looking for the science. When I started doing my training program, I knew why I was doing it. Well, I made my own little training program. Was following that. It was a 40-mile week. Average, basically, for my first marathon, I basically averaged like 35 miles a week. In Jan, I first started. Okay, I first started running around in the park. And of course, like anybody else, I was running too fast. I'd run around the park, run around the little lake in the park, and then I would like crash.
Forest Hill Park?
Yeah, in Forest Hill. I'd crash out in the car and smoke my cigarette or cigar or pipe, whatever happened at the time. I went from, I was trying to cut down on the cigarettes. That's why I went to the pipe or the cigar, because it would take you longer to smoke it, so you didn't smoke as much. Okay. But anyway, I was smoking when I started, and eventually the park got too small. Then I started running on the streets. But started running. So I started running that April. That January of '83, one of the what's his name? Anyway, there was a marathon, a non-credit marathon training class at Tri-C West, okay. Tri-C East. Anyway, I went to that class. That was like a 3-month class, and the graduation was supposed to be a REFCO that
okay.
that I can't remember if it was April or May then. Well, anyway, I went to that class, and well, every time the anyway, went there, and that's why I met a lot of the other runners, because they had people that came in from different running clubs and talked about it. Okay, so
were there a lot of black people there, or were you the only one?
That's why I initially met some members of Team Marathon.
Okay,
I can't remember who all was there.
Okay,
the only person I remember that was there was like Charles Wood, because he was the fastest at the time, but I haven't seen him that much. But anyway, because he was he was one of the fastest runners on our club.
Okay,
him and Ricky. But I mean, he was in that class. I'm getting brain
Ricky
dead.
Williams.
Yeah, brain dead. Howard. He's a race director now. He does a lot of direct races in there. Oh, Howard Mack. Yeah, HM. Okay. He has HM Productions now. He does a lot of races in the area now. Well, anyway, he was the class instructor. Howard Mack was. I don't know if he was that much into the doing the races then, but anyway, every time he would, there was things that we supposed to do on our own. Well, every time he saw me, since I was trying to keep up with the fast guys in there, on that Wednesdays or whatever day we ran, every time he saw me, I was like dragging my behind, because on my own I trained like I supposed to. Make a long story short, he didn't think I was going to, when the marathon came, he didn't think I was going to finish it, and I had the fastest time.
Okay. What was your time?
When I planned, my goal was, for my first marathon, was 3:30. I ran a 3:09.
Really? 3:09? Okay. All right.
Okay, so that's, and then, and before I ran that, I forgot. This is where I actually met everybody. That September of '82, because '83 is when the marathon was. September of '82, at the Black Crumbs, the United Negro College Fun Run. I think it was around September. It was a 10K.
Okay.
That is when I met most of the. That is when I met most of the team, the marathon team at that race.
Okay.
Okay, because that was my first race. That 10K was my first race, and then that in April, the marathon was my second race ever.
Wow. Okay.
I wanted to do a shorter races. When I did, I forgot. I ran like 40 something minutes, but my goal was to get up under an hour. So, so both of my first two races, I did my goal.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, do you remember, what was your impression when you first met the members of Team Marathon, and were they like trying to recruit you when they met you?
I can't remember who first recruited. I think it was Dexter.
Yeah.
But it was like, oh, we got to, whatever. But I can't remember the details of that. It was that. But I do know before that I had joined the Cleveland West Road Runners, and that was because when I started buying it and started getting my gear, what's his name? I forget. Anyway, he had a shop there, so he was a member, and so. Okay. But I remember it was the same year. I was a member of Cleveland West, then the National Black Marathons, and then and for the last 10 years, 15 years or something, a member of the Southeast Running Club.
Okay.
But like the Cleveland West Road Team is like like hundreds of big, but you got a little smaller team, and almost everybody belongs to one or two more clubs.
Okay.
But okay, that was the start of my marathoners.
Do you remember what your reaction was, or how you felt when you found out there was this black running club?
Well, okay, for me, since I never I was like just looking at the running, not necessarily the race, you know.
Yeah.
As far as I know, myself, this is what I used to see. I used to see like white runners all the time, you know, they running out, but it never dawned on me that I couldn't. I just like, oh, a runner, you know. And then I would see them like running in the wintertime, you know. And I was like, well, I said, I didn't know how these white guys would run without no clothes until I became one of them. It's like it's like when you move and you don't need that much on.
That's true. That's the truth.
But yeah, so it wasn't my thing about the black, you know, since I was in a black running club right at the beginning, you know, I still didn't know like we were kind of like a minority. Okay. Because '85 I went straight into the ultras, so I just consider my minority because the ultra people were minorities.
Yeah.
So I was as far as getting to the marathons, '84. So I started doing you know different marathons in the area. '84. And so I was with the club, like I said, like, you know, when we go to races, basically I saw us and a few others. Like if we did Detroit, you know, I saw more blacks there. The first time I ran the Pittsburgh Marathon was the first time I actually saw, since it goes to our neighborhood, it was the first time I actually saw a whole lot of black black spectators than any other race, you know, and that's kind of when I kind of started comparing against other races as far as the minorities.
Right.
When I saw no one, you know, I make sure I hollered or something like that, because basically I was seeing I would see the same